what were some of the limitations that you had as a young man, even though you were zealous, well-meaning, but now you're responsible for a wife and eventually a family? What were some of the like, oh my gosh, I was a freaking idiot, had no clue?
Well, the lack of bread,
lack of quan.
Exactly.
As my brother Tidwell would say.
Exactly.
The quan.
So if you know anything about Newark, New Jersey, my first apartment was on Stratford and Avon.
Ooh, so you said it was Avon.
That's the heart of the Central Ward. That's the heart of Newark.
Go back and watch some old Queen Latifah videos. I'm sure she got an Avon.
Exactly. So, I ended up getting married there, even the way I got the apartment, it was a subsidized housing situation.
Got you.
I wasn't making much as a young man, but I was single. I was on my own. I was saved. And I brought my wife, my brand new wife, into that experience.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about my wife, she wasn't having that for but a day. You laughing because you know. So she said, "What did you bring me into?"
Brought me to a war zone.
I'm like, "It's all right,
I mean, we good here. It's just a rat over. It's just a little...
be quiet, get a feed some noodles every now and then, and mind your business.
Give me some of the ramens. Keep it stepping.
But I think if I would have had better guidance, better discipleship,
there you go,
mentorship, if you want to call it, I would have waited a little bit.
Sure,
I would have let my wife get more established. I would have got my legs under me in Christ and in the world as a young man. I would let my wife, grow a little bit more. Yeah, and then we would have pursued marriage.
Now, when I'm considering this merge of your world and experience, what kind of insight or advice would you give emerging young men, like when you consider arts, the creatives of the day? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's so many opportunities, and you about to burst through and burst forth in these coming years, just really maximizing some of your artistic and professional experiences. But when you think about a little bit of a roadmap in light of all these existing opportunities, what are some of the advice that you would give to some young emerging creatives? To kind of that they're not just caught off on social media doing randomness and casting great ideas, but to bring them to some measure of sobriety. What are some of the 2 or 3 things that you would give them as guiding lights? Because you were in education and a guiding force of influence for so many students through the years.
Absolutely. I would say you need a game plan. You need to, especially as a creative, you need some type of train tracks.
Okay, excellent.
So you want to think, it's called backwards planning, right? Mm-hmm. And we do this in education all the time, understanding by design, backwards planning. Yes. You start a process with the end goal in your mind.
Begin with the end in mind.
That's exactly it. So for the young man or the young woman, I would say try as best you can to envision yourself 25 years from now. Where do you want to end up? What is it that you want to do? You might say, I want to have my own art gala. You might want to say, I want to be an art professor or something along those lines, right? And then you work steady and consistently to get there. Just know it's going to be detours. Just know you're in an ever-changing world. Nice. But that doesn't change the fact that, you kind of stay walking to the beat of the drum. Yeah. And you'll get there.
That's excellent. It's a big part of our, even some of our coaching construct, even in relation, because even though I have found success, I hit the lottery ticket, the 1% lottery ticket as an athlete. I didn't have a full-blown vision for my life. Right. So here I am at 30 years old. It's a very unique transition when you're 30 years old and you're falling off a cliff of fulfillment, right? Meaning because I literally eclipsed my dream at 30 years old. Like I've done it, but I still have all my life to continue to live. Yeah. And not having a plan for that post, quote unquote, I call it an experience more than I call it a career, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's so powerful when you can get this kind of insight and information for a young person, because even if your dream is to be an actor, right? There's going to be so many different things that have to be done in between. Like the story of Morgan Freeman is well told, that he doesn't get a breakthrough until he's like 45, right? Like, golly, I mean, what are you doing in between that?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that process of reverse engineering allows you to paint, feed the dream and paint the reality. Whereas we can have some sobriety in the pursuit of dreams, in the pursuit of excellence, in the pursuit of virtue. For a man, if you don't work, you don't eat. So once you get a family, how do you take care of that family?